We ready? All right. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. My name is Major Philip Ridgell. I'm the Public Information Officer here at the Boone County Sheriff's Office. To my right and left is our command staff, to include Sheriff Hill. I want to start with some thank yous, because some thank yous are certainly in order as we've worked through these last several days. I was asked on the scene how many agencies had responded. There was quite the showing down on the scene in Walton, and I'm just going to acknowledge each and every one of them before we really get started. From Boone County, our Public Safety Communications Center, Boone County Emergency Management, Chief Petticord with the Hebron Fire Department. He assisted with the Boone County EMA. The Florence Police Department, they assisted us with calls in Boone County, as well as SWAT operations, the Walton Fire Department, and the Verona Fire Department. From Kenton County, we had the Kenton County Emergency Management, their director, Todd Shulkers, the Northern Kentucky Regional SWAT Team. They assisted us with SWAT operations, the Kenton County Police Department, the Kenton County Sheriff's Office, the Villa Hills Police Department, the Covington Police Department. They also assisted us with SWAT operations, Taylor Mill Police Department, Lakeside Park, Crestview Hills Police Department, Fort Mitchell Police Department, Independence Police Department, the Fort Wright Police Department, Erlanger Police Department, Edgewood Police Department, Ludlow, Park Hills, and the Pioneer Fire Department. So to say that we don't have an incredible group of first responders would just be an utter lie. Everybody down there was selfless, and it was truly a team effort in a variety of different capacities, and I wanted to make sure that they were all recognized. I'm going to get into a couple of different things here first. We're going to talk about our deputies, and then I'm going to get into some investigation updates, and then I'll take your questions at the end. The wounded deputies from the August 28th shooting in Walton are identified as Deputy Gerald Mitchell Wilms and Deputy Kyle D. Floor. Deputy Wilms is 30 years old and began his law enforcement career with the Boone County Sheriff's Office in 2018. He is currently assigned to our patrol division as a field training officer, and he is also a member of our SWAT team. Deputy Floor is 30 years old and began his law enforcement career in 2020. He first served with the Pendleton County Sheriff's Office and the Falmouth Police Department prior to joining the Boone County Sheriff's Office in July of 2025. He's been with us for a little more than 1 month. On the night of the shooting, Deputy Wilms was training Deputy Floor. Deputy Wilms sustained gunshot wounds to both of his legs and was discharged from UC Medical Center on Monday, September 1st, 2025, and he is currently resting at home. Deputy Floor sustained gunshot wounds to the chest and was discharged from UC Medical Center on Friday, August 29th, and he too is currently resting at home. The investigation still remains in its infancy stages, but I'm going to give you a few updates. Justin Chapman fired multiple rounds from a .40 caliber Glock. It's a handgun. This was the only firearm found on the scene and in the scene. He did possess multiple knives, which were also recovered within an arm's reach of where he was found lying on the floor. We did confirm, this was asked, and we were unable to definitively say over the last couple of days, but I am confirming it now, that Deputy Floor did return fire after initially being fired upon. We are in possession of the well-known Facebook Live video recorded by Justin Chapman, and we have reviewed it. In that video, Chapman confesses to shooting our deputies. He's aware that he shot at least one, if not multiple, Boone County Sheriff's Office deputies, and also in the video clearly takes his own life within the frame. That is also observed. The autopsy is complete and the results are pending, so nothing is final. However, I can report that during that initial examination that Chapman was not injured from the exchange of gunfire and sustained only injuries that were self-inflicted. Currently, our detectives are conducting multiple interviews, and our body cam video will not be released until those interviews are complete. I estimate that that will be at least another couple of weeks. When those interviews are complete, we will release. We've received a plethora of requests for that already, and we'll get those out once we can ensure that that premature release won't affect any recollections that are relevant to the investigation. Does anybody have any questions?
Could you spell these?
Go ahead, Daniel.
Can you talk about what it meant for the deputies and their family as far as having that community outpouring of support from the moment they were really taken to the hospital?
Yeah, the support has really been about as front-facing as we serve a community that we absolutely know support us. But what we saw in addition to the community was the businesses, you know, the ones that we too serve, but also work in our community, support us as well. I mentioned earlier everybody who responded. The Kroger company, obviously we took over their parking lot. That was our command center. Their support for our mission down there and our objective was outstanding. The community as a whole, the outpouring of support, we really had we were inundated with messages, both people personally calling me, members of the command staff, our deputies, just checking in, not because they were being nosy, but because they genuinely cared about the well-being of our deputies that were injured, but also the well-being of our deputies who were right in the thick of it as well. Yes.
Could you please spell the two deputies' names, and then also have those 200 deputies specifically talked about the community support they received?
Yeah, so the deputy Gerald Mitchell, he goes by Mitchell, first name Gerald, Jerald, Mitchell Wilms, Wilmes, and then Kyle, Kyle, Florer, Florer. And the support that they experienced both during their time at the hospital with some of our law enforcement partners over there who are on that side of the river, it really, you know, again, spoke volumes to just how meaningful kind of this whole community sense is. It's not, we talk about brotherhood, sisterhoods within the law enforcement community. That is prevalent without question. However, I think what we saw is the ones who we don't work with each and every day still deeply care about us, and that helps this healing process and this whole digestion of the scene. Really, it helps them overcome some of the hard times that certainly they faced and may face in the future.
And before Justin asked, I know these people at home recovering now. How are they doing? Are they in good spirits?
They're in good spirits, of course, surrounded by family, friends, this agency, and there is a road to recovery for both of them, both I'm sure mentally and physically, and again, notwithstanding everything that they've been through, the hospital, the pain, recounting the entire thing, I'm sure they've remained in good spirits. They're two really tough individuals, and they've displayed that, and we are proud of how they've responded to this incident.
No plan to come back.
They've not told us to the contrary. That's exactly the way that we see it. We don't want to put the cart before the horse, Brian, on that, but we want to make sure that we get them healthy, both physically and mentally, and then we can work them back in here. But all accounts point to they want to get back. They want to get back to work.
And what are their ages?
30 years old, both of them.
Can you talk a little bit more about their injuries? I know on Friday you said if one wasn't wearing a bulletproof vest, this would have been a very different story.
Yeah, that would have been Deputy Floor, and you know he took a shot right up near the upper part of his chest, and without that vest, it would have been an utter tragedy. Likely, as I mentioned on Friday, you hate to even say it, but it's the truth that, you know, instead of them being discharged, we could have been planning their funerals. And that's the reason, that's the importance of the ballistic vest, you know, and the equipment that we have for Deputy Wilms. All of our deputies are outfitted with tourniquets, and tourniquets absolutely were necessary and down on that scene. And without those, again, his injuries could have been much more significant as well.
He was hit in the vest. Was he hit other places as well?
No, Deputy Flora just took rounds to the upper body, and then Deputy Wilms took rounds to the lower body and both of his legs.
And he took multiple rounds to that vest then?
Yes. I don't want to get into all of this because we're still trying to, you know, on the forensic side versus general statements, but yes, shot multiple times to the upper body, and we're just trying to kind of recreate the path of where those rounds went. But we do have a clear gunshot wound to the chest by way of what the vest tells us. Go ahead, Brittany.
Sorry, I was just gonna ask, you said that they were doing some training at the time?
Yeah, so because Deputy Flora was just recently sworn in here with the Sheriff's Office, any new deputy, whether they're from another agency or they're fresh out of the academy, always has to go through our field training program, and that's what Deputy Flora was in when he responded to the scene. He and Deputy Wilms were both, we'll call them a two-man unit, with Deputy Wilms being Deputy Flora's field training officer. Yes, sir.
Possible, since it's under investigation, you can answer this. Court records show that Chapman had PTSD and was a combat veteran. Is that information deputies would have been privy to prior to serving the warrant?
Again, in diagnosis and what has been reported versus what we've been able to confirm, certainly I've heard those reports. That's been pretty well stated over the last several days. Our deputies were aware and had some prior dealings with Chapman. We kind of knew what to expect in serving that warrant, and so the way in which that whole thing unfolded was, though not treated any differently, despite having that knowledge. So what I mean by that is there wasn't the showing that was on the scene initially. The warrant services, most of our warrant services here at the Sheriff's Office and in law enforcement, it's really just a two-man call. You have one deputy and one support, and you know, you go knock on a door, see if somebody's home, serve the warrant, and that's exactly what they did. As the situation kind of unfolded, that prompted the response of supervisors, patrol supervisors, and then some other deputies, to include Deputies Flora and Wilms. And you know, as I again said on Thursday night, maybe into early Friday morning, the whole situation is and was dictated solely by Justin Chapman, unfortunately. And we wish that it didn't go the way that it did. But unfortunately, it did, not just with our deputies being shot, with him taking his own life. And you know, now we have to kind of sort through all aspects of this investigation to see what we can learn, and that's part of why we do the things that we do, and the debriefings, of course, working with our partners from Boone, Kenton, and Campbell counties to learn from these experiences.
And can you talk to us about this strategy?
Does Boone County have any programs, Boone County Sheriff's Office have any programs to bring social workers to homes where there is suspected to be somebody dealing with mental health issues?
Yeah, so last year the fiscal court through on the county side, not strictly under the sheriff's office, hired 3 police social workers, and those 3 police social workers are assigned to our office, and they have, over the last several days, been utilized, and we have been deploying them where necessary, because of course some of those in the community that were down in Walton as well experienced a lot of things, and our community resource program that is in large part implemented and supported and executed by our police social workers will be accomplished here.
Can you kind of break down the timeline of sort of what happened in terms of, like, you kind of hear certain things on these videos. It sounded like they gave him some warnings. Maybe they hit the door, they go in. Talk to us about how that unfolded, and then kind of the strategy in doing that, the thought behind doing that.
Yeah, as I said, the initial warrant service started with, from what I understand, 2 deputies. When they got down there and Chapman announced through a doorbell camera to basically get off of his property, the 2 deputies then called their supervisors, and there was more of a response because this was not a search warrant, this was an arrest warrant. We had the arrest warrant for Justin Chapman. There wasn't any other necessary procedure from a court process that needed to be accomplished because we had an arrest warrant already on record. When they got down there, they were down there and announced pretty consistently for 30 minutes prior to forcing entry through the front door. Prior to even doing that, they confirmed that Chapman was in the house. They spoke with neighbors. They did their due diligence. They positioned themselves in front of his home and attempted multiple times to call him out, as well as clearly announced themselves as Boone County Sheriff's Office deputies. There really wasn't any dispute about this being a no-knock or anything like that. I've, of course, heard that. We've heard a lot. We do pay attention to some of the concerns, and we do want to clarify those. This was an arrest warrant, not the execution of a search warrant. They clearly announced themselves. They slowed everything down as opposed to rushing in after he initially told them. The first 2 deputies did right by notifying their supervisor, and then we followed our practices and procedures here internally that, I could go more in depth into what that includes, but generally speaking, the announcement, the positioning, the visibility, the knowing that this is without question law enforcement sitting out in front of your house. They tried to call him out by name. They tried to call out any other people in that unit 103. And even after the door was kicked in, after we were going to advance to take him into custody, they announced themselves again prior to entering the home. So there was, without question, clear announcements for Chapman. And I will tell you, Brian, that he acknowledged that. He knew that in the video. He knew that it was law enforcement. It was not, somebody was trying to break in. This wasn't a castle doctrine type of situation that was misconstrued. He knew that when he pulled the trigger, that it was law enforcement at the bottom of the steps.
And he retreated up the stairs. I think you mentioned one time he put up a curtain somehow.
Yeah, there was some kind of drape affixed at the top of the stairs, and I can only assume that he retreated on the back side of that curtain. But when you go up the stairs, instead of clearly making a right and a left, you were met with some type of drape or curtain, and that's what he retreated behind.
So the deputies maybe didn't even see him when the bullets were coming at him?
I won't speak to what they saw and what they didn't see because we've still got to interview them, but obviously he knew that they were down there, and it seems like they knew where the shooting was coming from. What happened in those few seconds in between, about what they visibly recognized, I don't want to speak to that.
He shot from the top of the stairs, though?
Yes, shot from the top down.
Through that curtain?
I can't say if it was through the curtain, but it was from the top of the stairs. Yes, sir.
Just to confirm, you said according to the autopsy, the injuries he sustained appear to be self-inflicted all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes. All of his injuries and the fatal wound was a self-inflicted gunshot wound. And again, to reiterate, this was also clearly captured on a video that we now possess and that we have reviewed. Go ahead.
And you touched upon it a little bit, but you've had past dealings with Chapman. Can you talk any more about your experience with him, maybe his record, anything like that, any more information?
I don't have all of the information on his record. I do know that there, again, some of the reports, I guess I could verify history of resisting arrest, history of domestic violence. Our last actual encounter with him was in 2021. I had mentioned, I think on Friday or Thursday, that we had attempted a warrant This same warrant we had attempted back in May of this year. It was a new warrant. In 2021, we were serving a different warrant. That warrant was served, and he resisted arrest. We took him to jail, and that court proceeding, I guess, worked its way out. And then here in 2025, in May, we attempted this warrant again and were unsuccessful and had negative contact. That was a term that I used on Friday. We had negative contact with him, and then last Thursday, we were attempting that warrant service again. Yes?
You mentioned that he himself was in the video. What all did that show?
Generally speaking, it was a confession. You know, he did confess on the video. Not having verbatim terms or quotes for you, I don't want to editorialize it too much, but he did make confessions.
That he knew law enforcement was outside?
Well, this was after he had, the video that I'm referring to was after our deputies had already been shot. So he acknowledged kind of the aftermath and the seriousness of what he had just done, and then through the course of the video, made various statements, and then sadly and ultimately took his own life.
Real quick, I wasn't here for the last press conference, I apologize, if you already said it, but what kind of weapon and what kind of caliber was it he was using?
He was using a .40 caliber Glock handgun.
Did they get streamed out live?
Yeah, that's the way we weren't able to see it live, but he did, from what we received multiple reports that, yeah, he streamed that entire video that we possess live for everybody to see, or at least everybody who had the ability to see it amongst his friends group or
It was on a Facebook or
Yeah.
social media?
it was a Facebook live video.
And it's no secret that Boone County, as a county itself, has been through a lot this past year, your department itself.
Mhm.
Can you talk about the help you're not only giving these deputies, but deputies who are also responded that night, potentially other people who've been affected this past year?
Yeah, I think for us, what we're trying to get better every day in that respect. It has been one hell of a 2025 so far, especially one hell of a summer, and there have been a lot of deputies as a result of that impacted in various ways. And so what we're doing is we're not being so prideful to assume that we know everything, because we don't. So we are consulting with medical professionals, mental health professionals. We lean on our PSWs, the community support, other people who reach out and offer themselves or their services. You know, we are an open book when it comes to this, because the health of our deputies, because of the job that they have to do each and every day, they are the most visible form of government around, you know, more visible than anything else. And so with that comes a lot of good, but as we've seen so far this summer, with that can come a lot of bad. And our deputies certainly want to continue to persevere and push through. I think that that's just the competitive spirit behind them. But when something mounts and mounts and mounts, we've got to do right by them to ensure that they're not just for themselves, but we've got a lot of husbands, and we got a lot of wives in this agency. We got a lot of mothers, and we got a lot of fathers. So we want to make sure we're doing also right by their families, because they get impacted just as much. Anybody else? All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Real quick, looking here, is it 30 or 34?
30.
30, okay.
And so what will happen is I will put out this press release.
Okay, cool.
Is getting